There's been a lot of chatter since the NBA restarted its season back in August about whether or not the winner of the NBA Finals this year, which after game one and the injuries that the Miami Heat are going through right now, it looks clear that the Lakers have this in the bag. But there's been a lot of talk about whether or not the champions this year are going to have an asterisk by their title. Like I said, people have been talking about this for the past 2, 3 months. I haven't broached this subject yet on this channel because I wanted to see what the atmosphere was going to be like in the bubble, how teams and players responded to playing without fans, and really if any teams would be lackadaisical in their approach to these playoff games because they were just ready to go home. When you think about it, it has got to be miserable being in that NBA bubble. I don't care how great the accommodations are. I don't care how many millions of dollars the players are being paid. Being away from home, being away from your family, your children, your booty calls, being away from comfort for 2, 3 months is not an ideal situation. It has got to be difficult. Let me start off by saying that the NBA playoffs have been great this year. This has actually been one of the best playoffs in a few years in terms of how competitive a lot of these series have been. I mean, we've had 4 series go all 7 games. We had the coronation of Luka Doncic as a legit superstar in this league. We had the downfall of the Milwaukee Bucks, which I believe guarantees that Giannis is going to jump on the first opportunity to get the hell out of Milwaukee. We had the unbelievable run from the Denver Nuggets. The Clippers collapse that we talked about yesterday on this channel, which led to the firing of Doc Rivers and probably forever tainted the legacy of Paul George. I haven't even mentioned the Lakers and the Heat in the NBA Finals. There's been a lot of positives about the NBA playoffs this year. But with all those positives, we've also had a lot of negatives. The NBA has doubled down on social justice politics, which alienated and turned off millions of people. We have seen the lowest playoff ratings in 17 years. As a matter of fact, game one of the NBA Finals the other night was the lowest watched NBA Finals game in the history of the NBA. I believe it was something like 7.4, 7.5 million people watched it, which was down close to 50% over game one just last year. The ratings for the NBA are in the tank. We had the boycott led by the Milwaukee Bucks over the Jacob Blake shooting, which I believe completely changed the atmosphere in the NBA bubble. Teams and players that came to Orlando not really wanting to be there, now they had the perfect excuse to get the hell out and go home. There were a lot of players who wanted to cancel the rest of the playoffs. Now, of course, we all know that didn't happen. Perhaps one of the biggest negatives, though, is the fact that whoever is crowned the champion this year is going to have a giant asterisk next to their title win, which sucks for guys like Anthony Davis, who wants so badly to have a blemish-free legacy. If the Lakers do end up winning the title and AD never gets back to the top of the mountain, there is going to be an asterisk on his only title win, and it will be a little bit of a blemish on his overall legacy. I love the NBA, and the basketball on the court has been played at a high level for the most part, but this just hasn't felt like the NBA playoffs to me. The absence of fans in the arena changes everything. Instead of playoff games, these feel like preseason games or scrimmages. The silence is deafening. Without the fans in the arena, those playoff moments that we all remember years later, we don't have those this year. That 3-point buzzer beater by Anthony Davis in the Western Conference Finals, I believe it was game 2, that'll be forgotten in a couple of months. I would imagine some people have forgotten it already. And I'm just sitting here thinking off the top of my head, trying to think of other classic moments from this year's playoffs. We had Luka hit that game-winning shot against the Clippers, but other than that, I can't really think of any. Without the fans in the arena going nuts after these big moments, it just takes away from the magic of it all. It doesn't feel as special. Scottie Pippen had some interesting comments the other day, and I'll be honest, I agree with him 100%. He was talking about how basketball in the bubble is not NBA basketball. He compared these playoff games being the equivalent to a practice or a scrimmage game. He referenced guys like Rajon Rondo, who is a notoriously terrible shooter, especially from the three-point line. Rondo right now, he is draining threes like he's Steph Curry. Scottie Pippen said without the fans in attendance, players who would normally buckle under the pressure are at a distinct advantage. He talked about the lack of travel and how that helps ease the pressure on the players. Playing every playoff game in the same gym, you have familiarity. He's basically saying the path to the championship this season is easier than it's ever been. Now, some will argue that being in the bubble actually makes it even more difficult, which is a valid point. But the lack of a home court definitely helps some teams in the playoffs. Take the Clippers Nuggets, for example. If these were normal times and the Clippers were up 3-1 on the Nuggets, do you really think Denver travels to Los Angeles and wins Game 5 or Game 7? Hell, you can make the same case in their first round series against Utah. Utah is a hard place to win on the road, especially in the playoffs. You think Denver wins Game 5 or Game 7 in that series on Utah's home floor? I believe a lack of motivation was a big factor for some of these playoff teams. I've been hard on the Milwaukee Bucks all season. But after the boycott, this was a completely different Bucks team. You could tell that a majority of the players in Milwaukee just didn't want to be in the bubble anymore. Same with the Clippers. I mean, let's just be honest here. How can this championship not have an asterisk next to it? This has been far from a normal NBA season and NBA playoffs. I don't know if it's the time of year, but it just hasn't felt like playoff basketball. Even the Game 7s, they haven't felt like Game 7. Like I said earlier, they feel more like exhibition games. I'm not taking anything away from the players. Do I feel like whoever wins deserves to have an asterisk by their title? No, I don't. You have to remember, these guys didn't have to travel to Orlando and play. They made the choice to continue the season. Whether the motivation was money, love of the game, political, or because they wanted to provide us with a distraction, the reason really doesn't matter. But we also have to be objective when we're looking at this. And the fact of the matter is, there's going to be a lot of people who will never consider this year's NBA's finals winner as a real champion. That's just the truth. We can sit here and defend it all day long. We can talk about how big of an accomplishment it is for guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron James to win the title, and the rest of the Lakers, assuming they win the title. But none of that is going to erase the asterisk. I've also seen some mentioning that if LeBron James wins the championship this year, he is going to go down as the greatest NBA player of all time. I can understand why some young people would consider LeBron the GOAT. I get it. I mean, he is going to go down as the NBA leader in playoff games played. He's made 10 NBA finals in 17 years. He scored more points in the playoffs than any other player in league history. He's third in assists. Is LeBron James the greatest player of this generation? There's no doubt about it. Is he the greatest player of all time? Absolutely not. And why is that? Now, for one, LeBron James, if he wins the title this year, will hold a 4-6 record in the NBA Finals. The real GOAT, Michael Jordan, is 6-0. Remember the first 7-8 years of LeBron's career when people questioned him in late game situations, when the media questioned if he had that hunger to win, that he shied away from big game situations, game-winning shots, things like that? It turned out to be completely unjustified. He was just learning how to win at the NBA level, but no one ever had those questions about Michael Jordan. Statistically, you can make the case that LeBron is better than Jordan, but like I've said on here a million times, stats are misleading. There has never been another NBA player that had the will to win that Michael Jordan had. Do you guys understand how difficult it is to win 3 championships in a row, then turn around 18 months later and do it all over again? It's damn near impossible. We would be talking about it being impossible if Michael Jordan hadn't done it twice. It will never happen again. But in my opinion, the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons, that Jordan is better than LeBron, and this is my personal opinion, I've mentioned this before, is that Michael Jordan elevated the NBA and he left it better than when he came into the league. The NBA reached the peak of its popularity during the Jordan era, and it has been on a decline ever since. LeBron James was never able to replicate that level of popularity. And LeBron is actually going to leave the NBA in a horrible, horrible position. The NBA is less popular now than it has ever been in the modern era. So to me, there's not even an argument to be made about who the greatest player in the history of the NBA is. It is and always will be Michael Jordan. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button for me. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. Will this year's NBA champion have an asterisk beside the title? Is LeBron or Michael Jordan the best NBA player ever? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Have any questions, a topic you'd like me to discuss, you can email me at BTLKC84@gmail.com. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys next time.